Hi. Hola.
Hi, hier ist Mr. Döse.
This is Michael Bradley.
Hey, I'm Memphis.
Hey.
Hola. Hello.
I'm here with soccer.com.
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 And I'm talking with my friends soccer.com.
See you soon.
Hey guys, Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you my review plus on-feet video of the brand new Nike Magista Orden 2. Now this is technically the first takedown model in the new Magista lineup. Being that it is a takedown, they do not come with any extras, so a string bag is not included. All you get with your purchase are the shoes themselves. And this shoe, being the first takedown model, retails at what I would consider to not really be a takedown model price, being that it cost $180 at full retail, which is comparable to the Mercurial Veloce 3DF and the Hypervenom Fatal 2DF, which both retail for $10 less at $170. So this one is technically $10 more, but I think the quality does reflect the extra $10 price increase. And again, at $180, even $170, that's not really a takedown model price. You're kind of paying a premium for the actual collar, but unlike what they've done with the Hypervenom and Mercurial lines with the Fatal and Veloce models, this is the only variation of the Orden 2. There is not a low-cut model that retails for less money. So you go from the Orden 2 down to the Onda 2, which is a significantly lower quality and significantly cheaper shoe that I'll be featuring on the channel very, very soon. Nonetheless, in today's video, we're going to be taking a closer look at the Orden 2 and what it has on offer. We're going to talk tech specs, performance features, take a look at the weight of the shoe, compare it to, of course, the other models in the Magista line, as well as take a look at how these things fit and feel on feet. So if you're interested in learning more, please stick around, watch the entire video. If you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, there'll be a little pop-up on screen and a link in the description that'll take you directly to the review page on my website. And on that page, you will find Buy It Now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes where you'll be able to pick these up below their normal $180 retail price. So again, if you're interested in a pair, go ahead and check that out. And with that being said, let's get right into the review. To start things off, let's talk tech specs and see what the Orden 2 has on offer. Now, this is a shoe that a lot of people will consider for two main reasons. One, the fact that it's mid-cut with, of course, the dynamic fit collar, and two, the fact that it retails for $120 less than the more expensive Obra 2. Now, I know some people will ask this question down below in the comments. As silly as it is, what's better, the Obra 2 or the Orden 2? The obvious answer is the Obra. There is no question about that whatsoever. If you have the extra money to spend and you want the best possible product, the Obra 2 is what you should spend your money on. With that said, not everybody has the budget for that $300 shoe, and they may be considering the Orden 2 at $180. A little bit less if you use the right coupon code. You pretty much never have to pay full retail, but nonetheless, at $180, while cheaper than the Obra 2, still not a cheap product. This is in the high-end price point, right around the $200 mark. So while I'm going to talk about this as it is a takedown model, you have to consider that it's in the high-end territory. So you kind of have to compare it to other high-end shoes in and around $200, of which there are tons and tons of options. And the same goes for the Veloce 3DF and the Hypervenom Fatal 2DF. Yes, they're mid-cut. Yes, there's a cool factor to that, but always weigh your options in when you're close to that $200 price point, because like I said, you have a lot of options to choose from. So with this particular model, you do of course have the mid-cut aspect, the dynamic fit collar, which in comparison to the other two dynamic fit models from Nike, the takedowns, the Fatal 2DF and the Veloce 3DF, this is an actual Flyknit collar, which is noticeably nicer than those two models that I just mentioned. Not quite on the same level as far as intricacy and just quality of materials as what you're going to find on the Obra 2, but like I said, better than other takedown models with the dynamic fit collar from Nike. It's got some cool design to it. It's very well elasticated. It just feels high quality and pretty well made. And of course that extends through the middle of the upper as well, kind of filling in the tongue area where the laces are positioned. As far as the upper itself is concerned, obviously the shoe is not made from Flyknit like you're gonna find on the Obra 2. Just the collar and the top of the foot is. The rest of the upper is a synthetic material that is kind of unnamed from Nike. They haven't really given anything as far as good information when it comes to tech specs on this particular shoe. Certain websites will have this upper listed as Kangolite, and that is not the case. Normally when Nike does Kangolite, they put some kind of a stamping for the Kangolite brand or the Kangolite material on the actual upper. If you guys saw my video on the Opus 2, you would have seen that Kangalite stamp, and I have actually confirmed with Nike that this upper is not in fact Kangalite, which doesn't surprise me because it doesn't feel like the upper on the Opus 2 at all. Instead, this is a little bit thinner. It's still flexible, it's still soft, it doesn't feel cheap by any means, and again, this isn't a cheap shoe at the $180 price point, but it doesn't feel as good, I should say, as the Opus 2 either. So it's kind of, again, a little bit lower quality than the two models above it, the Opus 2 and the Obra, which is what you would expect. Now, the material is thinner, it's got some flexibility to it, it's decently soft, it will soften up more as you wear them in. The finish on the surface is pretty much completely smooth, and then of course you do have the texturing, which is something that Nike has really stressed with this new Magista lineup, the amplified texture as they call it. That's what you have in the weather map zones, where that's supposed to be the more sensitive area of your foot, where having these little raised spots is just going to increase the touch on the ball, or your feel for the ball, which is kind of how Nike markets it. And it does offer a different sensation in comparison to the upper just being completely smooth. And what's interesting about this is, unlike the Opus 2, which actually has cutouts in the Kangalite synthetic for actual mesh little bubbles to pop up above it, this is just one piece of material where they've punched out the actual hole. So if you reach your hand on the inside and you run your fingers along the actual upper, you're gonna feel the little bulges where you have all of these little dots. So there is a legitimate texturing to this particular upper, despite it being one single piece of material. So that does make an impact in terms of touch on the ball. It doesn't feel completely smooth, and it does have somewhat of a dampening effect to it, which I think is pretty cool, and something that does kind of something that you also get to experience on the two models above it, the higher end shoes, if that makes any sense. But again, it's $180, so you expect a lot of those kind of high-end features to trickle down to this particular shoe. No ACC, being that this is a takedown model, but that's not really a big deal to me, in my opinion at least. You do of course have the laces, which run mainly through the middle of the shoe. They're pushed ever so slightly to the medial side. Dual lace hole system, given that it is a kind of one-piece enclosure where, again, it's not entirely Flyknit, it's Flyknit down the middle and then it's fused on the sides to the synthetic material, but it has the same kind of idea as what you get with the Obra 2, in that there is no opening aside from what you have here at the collar. The inside heel area is internal, it's an internal heel counter, very similar construction-wise in comparison to the Obra. The inside heel liner is almost the same as the Obra as well. It's a synthetic suede material with decent padding, so really, really comfortable, and just a nice liner in general. The insole, fully removable. I'll give you guys a quick look at that. It's a mesh liner on top, and it's just a single layer of this kind of grayish white foam. Decent thickness to it. Again, not quite as nice as the models above it, but still good enough and definitely will get the job done. And then moving on to the sole plate and stud pattern. The sole plate, while it looks very similar, is a standard TPU plastic, so it's a little bit more flexible, and ever so slightly thicker than what you're gonna find on the higher end models, but not something that I think is a major difference between them, if that makes any sense. And then of course you get the new Magista stud pattern, which is similar in performance to the previous one. They really made emphasis on rotational traction, kind of that freedom to twist and pivot when your foot is planted, and you get that sensation in this particular shoe. When compared to the previous Magista stud pattern, this is a little bit lower to the ground, a little bit more stable feeling, but traction wise, not that much different in my opinion. It's a good stud pattern, I didn't have any issues with it. This of course being the firm ground variation. It's made for use specifically on natural grass, no other types of playing surfaces, and on that type of surface, it does work quite well. So as far as traction is concerned, no complaints, and I don't think many people will have any issues with it either. When it comes to weight, I thought we'd compare the Orden 2 to the Obra 2 to see if there's any significant weight difference between the two, given that they are the two mid-cut models in the current Magista lineup. So I'm going to weigh both shoes for you today in real time. Keep in mind these are both the exact same size, 9.5 US, so this is a very fair comparison. We'll start off with the Obra 2, throw it on the scale, and you can see that they weigh in at 7.6 ounces, the equivalent of 215 grams. Remember those numbers. We'll change the scale back to ounces, pull these off, and throw on the Orden 2, and you can see that they weigh in at 8.75 ounces, the equivalent of 248 grams. So they're a little over an ounce more in comparison to the Obra 2. The extra weight has to do a little bit with the upper, but mainly with the sole plate being a TPU plastic, as opposed to the material you will get on the higher end model, which is just a little bit lighter overall. Is it a big weight difference? Not really. I wouldn't say that the Orden 2 is heavy by any means. It does have a different feel in general on feet, but again, I think a lot of people considering the Orden 2 in the first place likely don't have the budget for the Obra 2 anyways. So again, if you like what the Orden 2 has on offer, I don't think that you're going to have any issues with the weight. As far as aesthetics and the colorway go, I actually think the Orden 2 looks pretty good. Again, it's a $180 shoe, so you don't expect them to look cheap. Obviously, it doesn't have exactly the same look as the Obra 2, being that the upper isn't made from Flyknit, but it still has the printed kind of heat mapped graphic where you have Volt Yellow that fades to orange, fades to pink in the middle, and then of course all the texturing that has kind of its own look. Some people love it, some people hate it. It is a little bit interesting looking or unusual looking on the actual synthetic shoes versus the Flyknit one, just because it is more evident that there's actual little bubbles added to the texturing of the upper. But nonetheless, I don't think that this shoe looks bad or cheap at all. You have black Nike swoosh on either side, Volt Yellow laces, the entire collar is solid Volt Yellow, with the mid layer being kind of that neo turquoise color, which is kind of a cool little accent. Magista branding in black down the back, and then of course the sole plate is Volt Yellow in color with clear and orange studs. So all in all, I don't think these look bad at all. Let me know what you guys think of these down below in the comment section. Do you like how they look? Why or why not? And with that being said, let's move on to the on feet portion of the video so you can get a better idea as to how these shoes fit and of course what the sizing is like. All right, so here is a look at the Orden 2s on feet. On my left foot I have the stock Volt Yellow laces that come with the shoes, and on my right foot I have a pair of bright orange reflective SR4U replacement laces. If you're interested in a pair of replacement laces for yourself, the website to go to is www.sr4ulaces.com. You'll find a little pop-up on screen as well as a link in the description that'll take you directly to the website. So if you're interested in a pair, be sure to go ahead and check it out. Now in terms of how these things fit and feel on feet, they are a lot different in comparison to the Obra 2 for fairly obvious reasons. The upper is not Flyknit, instead it's a synthetic material that feels very snug on your foot. For whatever reason, it has the same sole plate base, so the general shape of the shoe is the same, but the upper is cut a lot more narrow, if that makes any sense. So the shoe does fit tighter than the Obra 2 and the Opus 2 for that matter. For whatever reason, I'm not sure why Nike did it. There's also a combination of synthetic leather as well as kind of a padded soft backing material on the inside of the shoe, and the synthetic leather parts really grip your socks and it makes this shoe very difficult to put on. So that is something to keep in mind if you are planning on picking these up. The first couple times you put them on, you're definitely going to struggle. That's completely normal. Just keep that in mind. As far as other aspects of the upper, it's flexible enough when it is on your feet. The heel area doesn't feel quite the same as what you're gonna find on the Obra 2. That just feels a little bit more comfortable for me out of the box. But again, with all the mid-cut models from Nike, it's really important that you take your time during the break-in process. Don't wear them straight into a game. Don't wear them straight into a free kick session or something like that. Just take it really easy and kind of get used to them nice and slow to avoid any kind of discomfort or blistering, because that's not something you have to deal with when breaking in a brand new pair of shoes. Width-wise, like I said, they do fit tighter than the Obra 2 or the Opus, so if you have wide feet, this probably is not the best option for you. It's got a snug fit overall. I'm not saying that they're narrow by any means. I still think they'll fit most people, but again, if you have really wide feet, probably not the best option. And as far as sizing is concerned, it's the same as the rest of the Magista line. I'm wearing a size 9.5 US, which is what I've worn in previous Magista models and all the current ones. They run about a half size small. So again, if you're coming from most other shoe lines, I'd recommend going a half size up. And if you're coming from previous Magista models, stick with the same size and you should be good to go. All right, guys, that is it for my review of the Nike Magista Orden 2. If you guys are interested in a pair for yourself, be sure to check out the review page on my website. It'll be the very first link in the description, or you can go ahead and click the I in the corner. And on that page, you will find Buy It Now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick these guys up below their normal $180 retail price. So again, if you're interested in a pair, go ahead and check it out. Link in the description, I in the corner. If you have any questions at all regarding these, leave them down below in the comments and I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, thanks for watching.